Hey there, welcome to day 11 of the Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. We're going to talk about the I's habit today. Yesterday we looked at alternatives. We looked at what is possible. We're looking at our biggest challenge right now and we brainstormed at least 10, hopefully more, and we've narrowed it down to about 3 things that we're still interested in. And today we're going to use a technology or a technique and a strategy I like to call the I's habit to analyze those. But before we do that, I want to share a little story with you, because there's a lot of different problem-solving, decision-making tools that we can use, right? Or we just have our own strategy, our own way of doing that. One of the things I learned as a little girl from my amazing dad was the plus or minus strategy, I call it. The positive or negative strategy, where you just take a piece of paper and on one side you write all the reasons to do something, and on the other side you write all the reasons not to do something. And I didn't realize until I was driving home. I had just gotten laid off from my job in corporate America. Maybe some of you can relate to that right now. And I've learned that although I put on a really brave face for my boss because I've been there before, as I was in the car driving home, all of a sudden the floodgates opened and tears were just rolling down my cheeks. And I still get goosebumps when I think about it, because I didn't realize how impacted we are when we have changes in our life. I was not in a position to be super financially sound. Up to that point, either my husband or I, one or the other of us, pretty much always been laid off while the other one was working throughout our life together and throughout our career. And my husband had recently lost his job, so me losing my job was pretty devastating. You know, I wondered, what are the kids going to eat? What are we going to do? We had just built a new house, and I was like, how are we going to pay for our house? And I was all worried, and all the things that our brain feeds us and that we think about when we have a change or something traumatic that happens to us. So I'm crying, I'm sitting there, I still have my hairnet and my helmet on, so people are looking at me, my mascara is running down my face, and they're like, what the heck? And as I'm wiping the mascara off my cheeks, because it's like getting to my mouth now, I'm like, all right, well, this isn't working for me. Number one, I have to drive safely in traffic. Number two, I just noticed I was feeling worse and worse and worse, and kind of going down this black rabbit hole, this very dark place. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't feel so good. So I turned on some music that I like. I can't remember what it was. It was probably some Pink Floyd or something, because I always liked Pink Floyd. And I listened to that for a few minutes, and that started to change the way I was feeling about the situation. And I started doing this plus or minus thing in my mind, because while I was working in corporate America, I had had some businesses on the side. And I tried different businesses, lots of different businesses, more than I like to admit. And some had been super successful, some had been, you know, pretty blatant failures. But for quite a while, I'd been doing an Italian food business with my sister, one of my sisters on the side. And I started doing the plus and minus thing. Okay, what's the advantage of getting another job? And I was looking at it, do I want to get another job? Or after, you know, this was probably my 5th or 6th big job in corporate America, where I had to start all over again. And it's kind of exhausting. It is exhausting. And so I was weighing the pros and cons. Do I want to go job hunting? Do I want to look for another job? Versus, do I want to maybe give it a go and just focus on a business, having a business of my own, where I feel like I have more control, and I'm not going to fire myself, right? I'm not going to lay myself off. No matter what, I'll figure out how to make it work. And so I was actually using that little tool, plus or minus, in my head. So by the time I got home to tell the kids and to tell my husband, I was a lot calmer. I wasn't crying, and I wasn't upset, and I wasn't feeling bad about the situation. And I realized that no matter what I did, if I decided to go job hunting, or if I decided to hop into the business and discuss that with my sister, either way I had options, right? I wasn't dead in the water. We weren't going to die. We weren't going to starve. The kids weren't going to go without anything if I could make sure that happened. But like I said, we were in a tough financial spot, because we had just spent everything we had building our house, and we didn't have our normal cushion of any kind of financial reserves or things. And of course, this was happening, you know, right as the recession and the economy was hitting in the 2000s. So it was definitely a traumatic time, which is kind of what we're all going through right now. And that is just a simple, one of my favorite and all-time tools is just plus or minus. Sit down and make a list of what the advantages are to doing something and what the disadvantages are, and paying attention to how it makes you feel. That was the biggest thing. And I just used that little strategy to make me feel better. Now, when we're looking at alternatives and big situations like we're in right now, sometimes we need to step back and we want a little bit more complicated model, or a little more meat around how we're going to make our decisions and our choices. I wrote a book when I was still in corporate America with a group of people. We wrote a book about problem solving and decision making. And of course, it's a 6-step process, right? Everything is usually a 6 or 7-step process. It's really funny. After you've been in business and paying attention and looking for things for a long time, you start to see the models, you start to see the foundational frameworks that everything actually functions on. But I kind of came up with my own version of what I call the I's Have It model. And it's just, all the words start with I, which is called the I's Have It. 6 different things that I look at when I'm analyzing alternatives. So take out your list of 3 things, and if you haven't done it, go back, brainstorm a list. I want you to do at least 10 so that you realize you have alternatives. I had to, on my drive home, be running through possibilities in my head and saying, okay, I can always go look for another job. I can always hop into the business, or I can always come up and start another business. And just coming up with those 3 things made me feel better, because I realized it wasn't this or that. We weren't going to go bankrupt because I had lost my job. And now we're looking at this longer period of time where people are out of work. Guess what? We don't have a debtor's prison in the United States. If your business is shut down, or if you've lost your job, now is the time to do like I did and focus on, what can I do? And so one of the things we can do is move forward, personally develop, put in place the plans and the things that we want to do to improve our life, our skills, and to improve, if we want to go out and get another job, we want to be more skilled than when we entered this quarantined, safer at home zone. And we want to be, with respect to our businesses, we want to be prepared when we can open those businesses again. If you're running like a chicken with your head cut off because your business is swamped right now, those are my favorite, by the way, because change and implementation and things on the fly are really, really fun. They're stressful, but they're really, really fun. So whatever your situation, you have choices, you have alternatives. There's always something that we can do, and there's always something that we can impact, but we have to be able to step back and let ourselves see it. That's why we did the exercise a couple days ago, the Be Fat exercise, to make sure that we're putting those things aside so that we can even see the alternatives and the choices that are before us, and that there's always something that we can personally do next. Guess what? That's all we can do, is we can always only do the thing that's next for us to do. So let's talk about the I Have It method. Now, so you're gonna look at this for each of your 3 alternatives, and you're gonna try to narrow it down to the best one. What is the best thing for you to do right now? There's a really cool, I think it's a Venn diagram model, and a lot of models and ways of analyzing things, people graph them on an XY graph axis. Okay, there comes the nerd in me. Those are called Venn diagrams. And there's one that looks at alternatives based on importance and urgency. And they do that for analyzing problems, but we can do that for challenges, because this is a big problem, and the alternatives we're looking at that can help us hopefully to solve the biggest challenge, the biggest problem we're having right now. I like that one a lot, but I think that the 6 I's give us a more well-rounded way of looking at the situation and looking at the alternatives than just importance or urgency, right? So the first one, of course, is interest. How interested are you? And you can rate these any way you want. I usually do them on a scale of 1 to 10 because it gives me enough separation to be able to make sense of the numbers, and I'm a numbers gal, but you don't have to at all. Just ask yourself each alternative, and 1, 2, 3, you can rank them based on the number of alternatives you have. The most interested one, give 3 points. The least interested one, give 1 point. And we're going to look then for the total number of points if you want to do numbers. The biggest number of points would be the alternative that we choose based on these 6 criteria. So the first one is interest. How interested are you in the alternative? How excited are you about it? Do you even want to do it? I can think of a lot of things that I could do right now, a lot of businesses I could start, a lot of things I could get involved in, but I'm not the least bit interested in them, right? Maybe it's for a group of people that I know I'm really not excited about working with or helping. So how interested are you? The first I is interest. The second I is important. How important is this alternative that you would do it or not do it? How urgent is it? So I kind of combine important and urgency all in one. under the second criteria, important. So how interested are you in it? Are you curious? Do you even want to do it? How important and urgent is this particular option or solution? I mean, if it's an opportunity that is, you know, going to expire in 24 hours because it's a marketing thing, maybe that increases the sense of urgency for taking advantage of that alternative. I mean, maybe you're going to take a course or something and the price is going to go up in 24 hours. So maybe that's more urgent. And again, rank them in order, 1, 2, 3, 3 being the most urgent, 1 being the least urgent. There's things we can do anytime, right? And most courses and opportunities and things online, they have a sense of urgency, but you can actually really get involved in them anytime, right? The third I is impact. How much, and it's usually just a guess or an estimation, so don't get all bent out of shape about this. How much impact do you think that the solution or the alternative that you're looking at will have in terms of, will it move the needle further? We already know up front that there's certain things that we do that they'll move the needle. They'll move our how close we get to a goal that we want faster and further than other alternatives. So that's what I mean by impact. How far will they move the needle and move you toward what it is that you want, or how much impact will they have on solving the problem? Let's think of an example of this. Say your business is shut down. Okay, this is a good one. Let's say your alternatives are your business is shut down and you're trying to decide if you're going to close your business and just go out of business for once and for all, if you're going to look at maybe selling your business, or maybe you're going to do what it is that you need to do right now to set your business up for massive success when you open up again. Each of those different alternatives have a different impact, right? If you decide to shut your business right down, that's an immediate impact, but it's probably a negative one. How do you feel about that decision or about that alternative? And you want to do that then with each of the alternatives. So impact is how far will it move me toward, and say you absolutely love your business and you don't want to shut it down. Well, then that's like a big impact one, but you don't want to do it, right? So score accordingly. The next one is intensity. So we've got interest. How curious or how interested are you in the alternative? How important is it? How urgent is it that you take advantage of it, or that you do it now? What's the impact? How much and how close will it move you toward what you want? And make it move you toward what you want, right? If shutting down your business doesn't move you toward what you want, then that gets the 1, right? And then the figuring out what you need to do right now to make sure your business kicks butt and takes names when you open up again, that would be your 3. So intensity is, how hard is it going to be to do this? How hard are you going to have to work? How much energy and effort are you going to have to put into it in order to get this alternative going, or to make a step toward doing and implementing this alternative? The fourth one is the initial and then the ongoing cost. What's the initial cost in terms of money? And maybe money, yeah, let's just do money because we'll do implementation time. What's it going to cost you, and do you have those resources available? If you do, great. I'm not going to knock the ducks around. If you don't, can you get that? Can you be resourceful and get that? But what is your estimated initial cost? Probably if it's huge and you don't have the resources, that's going to get a lower ranking than the other alternatives. The 6th I in the I's have it is implementation time. How long before you can actually do something or take an action toward the alternative that you're looking at, and do this for all 3. Some things we can do right now, right? If part of what one of my choices is I'm going to take a course or learn something, maybe it's a 6-week course, but I can start today. That implementation time to start doing that is like right now. Then there's other things we know, if I'm going to map out a process and a procedure, and I might need some experts to help me do that to make sure my business is in better shape later on, that might take me longer than 6 weeks, and it might take me 6 weeks just to get an expert to even look at and help me with that thing. So we want to look at how long is it going to take us to implement the alternative that we're looking at. So it's a little complicated, but I'll make a worksheet for it, and you'll just go 1, 2, or 3 for each of your alternatives, and you'll add them all up. You'll figure out what the number is, and that's how this is actually called. It's a version of the nominal group technique, where you look at all the alternatives, you rank them, then you add up the numbers, and whatever number has it ranks then the alternatives in A, B, and C order, or 1, 2, 3 order that you should go out and do them. Now here's the thing. In the world we're in right this very minute, it might all boil down to, what can I do with what I've got right now, right? Maybe you're short of resources. Maybe you're short of alternatives, whatever. But to me, what I'm asking myself every single day is, what can I do right now with what I got? What can I do with what I've got right now? What can I do with what I've got right now? That is my overriding differentiator between all alternatives and the choice of what I do or don't do every single day right now. And when we're in chaos and emergency mode, which many of us, probably most all of us are in, that's the most important question. And so that kind of takes away the eyes have it. But I like the eyes have it because I feel like I'm doing something in a systematic way to make a decision and a choice to move forward. And we want to do this in our most important, most intense, most urgent problem right now to move the needle forward the most, to give us the most impact so that we feel better about what's going on. And we feel better about ourselves. And we're leading by example and helping other people. And that's important as well. So would love to know what you think of the eyes have it. Our action item today is, of course, to take your alternatives from yesterday and do this worksheet on them. I will go and create a Google Doc worksheet for this because I don't have one. I've never explained this way before. I just kind of came up with it. And I'm like, okay, what are the things that I look at and why and how can I analyze alternatives in a way that makes sense, but it's kind of scientific, because I think we need a lot more objectivity to what's going on in our lives right now to make us feel better and more grounded than all the chaos and all the craziness that's going on around us. So try the eyes have it method today, and tomorrow, of course, we're going to pick one of those alternatives. I'm giving you a little peek in tomorrow. We're going to pick one of those and we're going to actually take action on it tomorrow, like right away. Normally we do it today, but I'm stretching it out a little bit just so that we have bite-sized pieces. Now, I know it's Easter Sunday tomorrow, but it doesn't mean we can't pick one alternative and take a step toward it. That's it. Have an absolutely amazing day. If you have any questions about this or the eyes, or why you would and how you would look at each of those different things and analyze them for your particular situation, just ask in the comments below or message me, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom, and I will be glad to help you out. Have an amazing day, and I am going to go have one as well. Take care. Catch you tomorrow. Bye. Get up and go.